Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking about something that almost everyone has experienced at least once, being ghosted. You know the situation. You're talking to someone. Maybe it's a friend, maybe someone you're dating, maybe even a coworker. Everything seems normal. You send a message and then nothing. No reply. Hours pass. Then days. And slowly, you realize, they're gone. No explanation. No goodbye. Just silence. That's ghosting. In today's episode, we'll explore why people ghost others, what it usually means, and how you can deal with it in a healthy way. And don't worry, this is not about blaming you. In fact, you might be surprised by what ghosting really says about the other person. Let's start with a simple question: why do people ghost? The first reason is avoidance. Many people feel uncomfortable with difficult conversations. Saying, "I'm not interested anymore," or "I don't want to continue this relationship," can feel awkward, stressful, or even scary. So instead of facing that discomfort, some people choose the easier path: they disappear. From their point of view, ghosting feels like a quick escape. No conflict, no emotional conversation, no need to explain themselves. But of course, for the person on the other side, it creates confusion and sometimes pain. The second reason is emotional immaturity. Not everyone has learned how to communicate clearly and honestly, especially when it comes to relationships. Some people don't know how to express their feelings, or they don't fully understand them. So when things become complicated, they shut down. Ghosting, in this case, is not about you being not enough. It's about the other person not having the skills to handle the situation properly. Another common reason is that the person simply lost interest. This can happen in friendships, dating, or even professional situations. At the beginning, everything feels exciting. There's curiosity, energy, maybe even strong emotions. But over time, those feelings can change. Instead of saying, "Hey, I don't feel the same way anymore," some people just stop responding. Again, it's not kind, but it is common. Now here's something important to understand: losing interest is normal. But ghosting is a choice. It's a way of handling that change, and it's not the most respectful one. There's also a modern factor: technology. Today, communication is fast and easy. We send messages instantly, we can connect with many people at the same time, and we don't always feel the same responsibility as we do in face-to-face conversations. Because of this, it can feel easier to ignore someone online than to say goodbye in person. The distance created by screens makes ghosting more common. Let's talk about another reason that people don't often mention: fear of hurting you. Yes, sometimes people ghost because they think it's kinder than telling the truth. They believe that disappearing will hurt less than saying something honest like, "I don't see a future with you." But in reality, ghosting usually hurts more. Why? Because it leaves questions. You don't know what happened. You don't know if you did something wrong. Your mind starts creating stories, and often those stories are negative. You might think, "Was I boring? Did I say something wrong? Was I too much?" And this is where ghosting becomes dangerous for your self-confidence. So let's be very clear about something: ghosting is not a clear reflection of your value. It's a reflection of how the other person deals with situations. Of course, it's still possible to learn from the experience. Maybe the connection wasn't as strong as you thought. Maybe there were small signs you didn't notice. But ghosting itself is not proof that you are not good enough. Now, I want to talk about how ghosting makes us feel, because this is important. When someone disappears without explanation, it creates uncertainty. And as humans, we don't like uncertainty. We want answers. We want clear endings. Without that, your brain keeps searching for meaning. It replays conversations, looks for mistakes, and tries to solve the mystery. This can be exhausting. You might also feel rejected. Even if the relationship was not very serious, being ignored can hurt. It can feel disrespectful, like your time and your feelings didn't matter. And sometimes, ghosting can even affect your future relationships. You may become more careful, more anxious, or less trusting. So what can you do if someone ghosts you? Let's go step by step. First, don't chase too much. It's okay to send one follow-up message. Something simple, like "Hey, just checking in. Hope you're doing well." But if there's still no response, it's important to stop. Why? Because communication requires two people. If only one person is trying, it's no longer a conversation, it's a one-sided effort. Second, don't assume the worst about yourself. Your mind will try to explain the situation, and it may create negative stories. But remember, you don't have enough information to know the real reason. And often, the real reason has more to do with them than with you. Third, accept the silence as an answer. This can be difficult, but it's powerful. No reply is still a reply. It tells you that the person is not willing or able to communicate with you. And that is important information. It may not be the answer you wanted, but it is clarity. Fourth, focus on your own value. Ghosting can make you question yourself, but this is the moment to remind yourself who you are. Your worth does not depend on one person's behavior. Think about your qualities. Your kindness, your humor, your intelligence, your effort. These things don't disappear just because someone else disappeared. Now, let's turn the situation around for a moment. Have you ever ghosted someone? Be honest. Many people have done it at least once. Maybe you didn't know what to say. Maybe you felt uncomfortable. Maybe you thought it would be easier to just stop replying. If you recognize yourself here, don't worry. This is not about judging, it's about learning. If possible, try to communicate more clearly in the future. Even a short message like, "Hey, I don't think this is working for me, but I wish you the best," can make a big difference. It shows respect. It gives closure. And it helps both people move on in a healthier way. Let's also talk about different types of ghosting, because not all situations are the same. There is early-stage ghosting. This happens when you just started talking to someone. Maybe you exchanged a few messages or had one meeting. In this case, ghosting is still not ideal, but it's more common and usually less painful. Then there is deeper ghosting. This is when you've built a connection over time. You've shared conversations, experiences, maybe even emotions. And then suddenly, the person disappears. This type of ghosting can be much more difficult because the emotional investment is higher. In these situations, it's even more important to take care of yourself and not let the experience define your self-worth. Now here's a question you might be thinking: should you confront someone who ghosted you? The answer depends on the situation. If it's very recent, you can send one honest message. Something like, "Hey, I noticed you haven't replied. If you're not interested anymore, I'd appreciate knowing." This gives them a chance to respond. But if they still don't reply, it's best to let it go. Chasing someone who is avoiding you usually leads to more frustration. Instead, invest your energy in people who show up, who communicate, and who respect your time. Because at the end of the day, that's what you deserve. Let's finish with a positive perspective. Being ghosted can actually teach you something valuable. It helps you see who is truly willing to communicate and who is not. It shows you the difference between interest and real effort. And over time, you may even become more selective. You may start choosing people who are emotionally available, who are honest, and who are consistent. So yes, ghosting can feel unpleasant. But it can also guide you toward better relationships. Before we end today's episode, I want to leave you with one simple idea. If someone ghosts you, it doesn't mean you are not worth talking to. It means they are not ready to have the kind of communication you deserve. And that's an important difference. Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to come back for more. And remember, clear communication is always better than silence. Talk to you next time.